Hi guys, welcome back to Coach Michael's World Geography. And today's lesson is going to be on comparative advantage and how that dictates or illustrates why countries choose to produce certain things and not produce others. We spent the last several days talking about resources, what are human, natural, and capital resources, and we've also talked about levels of economic development in countries and developed and developing countries. And the last thing we talked about was how do we measure economic development in countries or the economic health of some countries. So today we're going to illustrate the concept of comparative advantage. And in order to do that, before we do any more work on that, we've got to come up with some definition. We've got to have some basic vocabulary that's going to really help us wrap our brains around what's going on. All right, so here are the words you need to know in your notes. I want you to write down what you think these words mean, and then I'll talk about what the definitions are. So the words that we've got are comparative advantage, absolute advantage, opportunity cost, specialization, export, import, and tariff. I want you to think of these words specifically in terms of economics. So how do these words relate to economics, and what is the connection? What do these mean in terms of money and economics? So let's first of all talk about comparative advantage. You can read the definition there. But basically, it's comparative advantage is the idea that you are choosing, that you can carry out some activity, that you can do something better compared to somebody else, more efficiently compared to somebody else. Okay, so compared to everyone else, you're better at doing something else. Absolute advantage just means that you are just better than someone else. Okay, comparative advantage takes two jobs, and you pick one of those jobs to do because compared to Bobby or Susie or Uganda or Chad or Britain, your country is better at doing that specific job. Absolute advantage is you're just better at a job, any job in particular, and we'll illustrate that. It'll make more sense. Opportunity cost is the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen, and that's a really complicated way to phrase it, but the easier way to phrase opportunity cost is the value of the next best choice. Opportunity cost is the value of the next best choice, and what that means is what are you giving up? Okay, if I'm going on vacation, I'm choosing between the beach or I'm choosing between the mountains. If I choose the mountains to go, I'm giving up whatever value I had in the beach, which means seafood, which means laying out in the sun, which means going swimming in the ocean and deep sea fishing. That's what I'm giving up. All right? And that's the opportunity cost. That is the opportunity. That's the cost of the opportunity I'm giving up. Specialization is choosing to produce one good or product so that you can become more efficient at producing that good or product. And in terms of sports, I want you to think about it as choosing to focus on baseball or softball or basketball or football or whatever so that you can become better at competing or better at that sport and get more efficient at it. Exports, I hope you already know but that's sending goods or products or services to other countries from your country. Importing means that you're bringing stuff in. And last but not least are taxes or tariffs, which are taxes on imports. And a tariff is a specific type of tax on an import. Okay, so in order to illustrate these concepts, we're going to talk about Bert and Betsy. Good old Bert and Betsy. Bert and Betsy is one of my favorite stories. And they're a teenage pair of siblings. Okay, so they're a brother and sister who have an issue. Okay, and here is Bert and Betsy's issue. They both want to go to the spring dance really bad. They want to go get their groove on, and they want to go dance in the club. Well, not really the club. It's more the high school cafeteria, but you know, you get the point. Well, so they want to go dance and hang out with their friends. Betsy's got a date. Bert's got a date. They're all raring to go. Afternoon comes around. Their parents say, no, you're not going. You guys haven't washed dishes for 3 days, and so there's a sink full of dishes that needs to be washed. And you guys haven't taken out trash in 5 years, so you're going to do it right now out of the garage. You got to clean up the garage. And so Bert and Betsy are like, oh, crap, that's no good. All right, so we can see here down at the bottom how much they can do in an hour. All right, so let's take a look, and let's look at how much output, what can they produce in terms of the chores in an hour. Betsy can wash 2 sink loads of dishes in an hour. Bert, on the other hand, can only do 1. Bert's kind of slow and lazy, stereotypical teenage boy. For some reason, he's got a girlfriend. I don't know how. but he's got one, and he wants to take her to the dance, but he can't if they don't get this cleaned up quickly. Okay? Sweeping and taking out trash. Betsy is also more efficient at this. She can do 3 loads of trash in an hour compared to her lazy sloth brother who can only do 1. Bert is a lazy sloth, but Bert can do that, but not as quick as Betsy, the overachiever, great kid. All right, so who's better at doing dishes? Obviously, Betsy's better at doing dishes. If they work together in an hour, what can they do? So we're going to add, for simplicity's sake, we're going to take these two numbers, we're going to add them together. You come up with 3. 3 in an hour means it takes them 20 minutes to do a load of dishes in an hour. Okay, obviously, if they work alone, it's going to take Betsy 1 hour to do 2 loads, and Bert 1 hour to do 1 load. If he swept all alone, he would be doing 3 hours worth of work, the lazy bum. All right, so how many minutes is it going to take them to wash 1 load of dishes working together? If they work together, they can do 1 load in, wait for it, 20 minutes. Okay, we take our math, we go, they can do 3 loads in an hour. If I divide 3 by 60, I get 20 minutes. Okay, so there's that. All right, so who's better at taking out the trash? Betsy, once again, is better at taking out the trash. If they work together, they can do 4 loads in an hour, so that means it's going to take them 15 minutes if they work together to do 1 load. So, just to review, their task, their job before they can go anywhere is to wash 1 sink of dishes and take out 3 loads of trash. All right, remember, they want to get out and get done as quickly as possible. All right. So their parents have a plan, they've each got a plan, and their friends all have plans. So we've got to pick the most efficient option, which is going to allow Bert and Betsy to complete both jobs in the shortest amount of time so they can go dance and they can go out to dinner with their partners and have some fun. Well, the parents' plan. Parents suggest that they consider dividing the work up. Okay? They divide the work task and work together. So first they do the dishes. And since they only have 1 load of dishes, that's going to take them 20 minutes. Okay, so that's going to take some dishes, 20 minutes. Then they both do the sweeping. They tackle the sweeping. Well, since they're working together and there are 3 loads, that's going to take them 45 minutes to do that. All right. So if you add it all up, it's going to take them 65 minutes, an hour and 5 minutes, in order to do all of those things if they work together at the same time. Bert's lazy, and Betsy complains about that. She says, that's lazy. I'm going to do more work than he does because he's a lazy slob and sloth, and he won't do her share of the work, his share of the work. Well, but Betsy's a team player, and if that enables them to get the job done more quickly, then you know what? The fastest, then you know what? She'll go along with it. So in your note, what are the good things and what are the bad things about this plan? Okay? Good is obviously they get done in 65 minutes. The bad is Betsy does all the work. What are some other things that you can come up with? Well, Betsy has a plan. She says, you know what? Since I like doing dishes better, I'm going to do the dishes. And since I'm doing the dishes, it's only going to take me 30 minutes to do the dishes. And Bert, since he made up all the trash in the garage, he's going to have to do the trash in the garage. The bad part about that is this. Because he only does 1 load an hour and it's going to be 3 loads of trash, it's going to take him 3 hours to do that. So that means if they work separately, even at the same time, it's going to take them 3 hours before they can get to go anywhere. That's not a good plan. The good is Betsy gets to go and do her thing and be done a lot early. The bad is Bert, because he's such a lazy, slow slob, it's going to take 3 hours before they can go out and dance the night away and go out to eat with their friends. Bert has a plan. Bert says, you know what? This is my best plan. Okay, here's what I do. Betsy is better at everything. Betsy should do all the work. She's just flat out better. He suggests that she be the one to do all the work, and that's the most efficient. Let's think about it. If Bert's plan is 3 hours, Betsy's plan is 3 hours because Bert does the trash, Betsy's plan is only going to take them an hour and a half. Because Betsy does the dishes. She does 1 load of dishes in half an hour. Then Betsy does the trash. It takes her an hour to do 3 loads. That's only going to take them an hour and a half. They get out, they go to party, and they go have some fun. The good part is it's a lot shorter than Betsy's plan. And for Bert, it's really good because he doesn't have to do anything. But that's a negative. They're not sharing the workload in this example. Okay? The friend says, oh, no, no, no. I have the best idea ever. I have the best idea ever because I have been in Coach Michael's World Geography class, and he taught us about opportunity cost and comparative advantage. So here's what we're going to do. Here's my plan. She suggests that Betsy do the sweeping because compared to Bert, she is better at doing the sweeping. Okay? Bert should do the dishes because compared to Betsy, that's what he does best. Even though he's slower, he still does that job better when compared to Betsy. So, long and the short of it is, in 1 hour, he can do 1 sink of dishes, and that's what they have to do. In 1 hour, Betsy can take out 3 loads of trash, and that's what they need to do. So they're out of there in 1 hour or 60 minutes. So out of all of these 3 plans, the best plan, the shortest, most efficient plan is going to be one. The one that allows them to get out in 60 minutes, and that's the Friends plan because she had, Coach Michael for World Geography. All right? The negative to that plan, though, is that Betsy doesn't get to do what she wants to do. That's the negative. And Bert is still getting to kind of do what he wants and be nice and lazy. Okay? But it's the Friends plan that allows them to get out in the shortest amount of time. So let's take this and let's apply this example to the real world. Okay? So let's talk about trade. All right? When we're trading, some companies or some countries put tariffs on things. All right? So going back to the example, the opportunity cost is Betsy is giving up, her opportunity cost is giving up the ability to do dishes. That's her opportunity cost. All right? What they're doing is they're choosing to specialize each in one specific job so that they get really good at it and they can do what they need to do. They can do those jobs more efficiently and get their goal, which is to get out and go have fun and go party. So let's talk and let's take this and let's apply this a little bit to the real world. Thinking about some things, here's your scenario. Scenario number 1, the U.S. produces cars but also imports them from other countries, Japan, for example. Okay? We are importing cars from Japan. Okay? We're going to look at winners and losers in free trade. So we're both producing cars and we're trying to protect our trade with tariffs. And then we're going to identify the restrictions that are placed on them. So U.S. and Japan producing cars, U.S. is importing cars from Japan. So let's think about it. First example is free trade. Assume there are no limits on the number of cars that we import from Japan. And there's no tariffs on these. Okay? Japanese car companies sell these cars for Japanese cars to sell them their car. All right? So in this example, if the Japanese can produce cars at a cheaper cost than American car companies, what cars are you going to buy? You're going to probably buy the ones that are cheaper. So that means you're going to buy Japanese cars. So in this example, who wins? Which Americans are better off? Obviously the ones buying cars. Think about why. Which Americans are worse off? The car companies, because people aren't buying American cars. All right? Which Japanese are better off? The car companies. Which Japanese are worse off? The Japanese that are worse off are the consumers because they are not consuming the car. Because demand is going up for their cars, the price of Japanese cars is also increasing. Now, let's assume for a second that we are restricting trade. Okay? So now the U.S. is putting a tariff on car companies and also on Japanese cars and also limiting the number of Japanese cars that are sold in the United States. What that does is it artificially inflates the price. So now Japanese cars, theoretically, are more expensive than American cars. Who are worse off in America? Well, that's the American car buyer because the cost of cars increases. Who are better off? American car companies, because now Americans are forced to buy cars from American companies. And so that's good for American car companies, but it's bad for American consumers. All right? The Japanese consumers are the ones that are better off in this case because their cars stay low in price and they can afford them. Who are worse off? Japanese car companies are worse off. And so when we make economic decisions on what we choose to make in import and export, these are all the things that are affected by this. All right, so that's the idea of comparative advantage and a little bit of how it affects world trade and choosing to specialize in things. And so hopefully you can get that connection. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Or if you're in my class, come and see me. All right, thanks. Have a great day. Bye.